In our restless dreams, we see that game, Silent Hill 2. You promised us you'd release it again someday, but you never did. Until now.
James? Honey? Did something happen to you? After we got separated in that long hallway? Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in the hotel?
Maria?
You said you took everything. But you forgot that videotape we made. I wonder if it's still there.
How do you know about that? Aren't you Maria?
What's up guys, True Warrior here. Today, I want to bring something different to the channel. And before anyone says it, no, I'm not finished with Resident Evil. On the contrary, I still plan to release more content from the saga. But I wanted to bring another horror franchise to the table. A franchise that, over the years, would stand alongside Resident Evil. And that is Silent Hill. As some of you may know, Silent Hill 2 Remake was recently released for both consoles and PC. And many fans have been eagerly waiting for the return of this franchise since Konami announced its upcoming projects a year ago. Among them were Silent Hill F, Return to Silent Hill for the big screen, and the game I'll be discussing this video, Silent Hill 2 Remake. And for those wondering, no, I won't talk about that abomination called Ascension. I'll just say this, whoever wrote the story for Silent Hill Ascension must be a big fan of It the Clown to include that part in the story.
I want you to join our next merging ceremony.
Your next merging ceremony?
Creating love through physical intimacy is something Radcliffe believes strengthens our defenses against the withering. But it's not enough love to protect us all.
Then why are you asking me to?
To truly become part of this community, really protect it, you must share yourself with the entire Foundation.
What a cheeky move behavior. But anyway, back to the topic. Just like my experience with Resident Evil, I'm not a Silent Hill veteran either. In fact, it was about 2 years ago that I began my journey with the franchise, starting with the first Silent Hill, whose protagonist was Carrie Mason, then moving on to the second game, which to this day remains my favorite, and finally the game starring Cheryl Mason, Silent Hill 3. All of this was possible thanks to recommendations from both friends and content creators I follow. And despite how bad I am solving puzzles, my experience with Silent Hill has been positive. That being said, one of the things that really gets my attention about these games is how different they are from other survival horror games. While some, like Resident Evil, stand out for the use of science, zombies, and jump scares, Silent Hill focuses more on the divine, the unknown, and employs psychological horror. Additionally, another aspect that stands out for me in these games is the symbolism behind every detail. The enemies, the characters, the locations where the story unfolds, everything has a reason. As someone who enjoys paying attention to details, I deeply appreciate this type of effort. A year after stepping into this universe, Konami announced the Silent Hill 2 Remake for 2024. While some celebrated Silent Hill's return, I noticed how others reacted with concern about Bloober Team being in charge of the project. Now, as the uncultured swine that I am, I'll be honest with you, I had no idea why or how Bloober Team had earned its reputation until just days before the game's release. That's when several people told me about what happened with games like Alone in the Dark and Blair Witch. When a company worries its audience while participating in a major project just like the Silent Hill 2 Remake, it tells me a lot about them. Especially after the first trailer revealed James's face for the first time, and I remember seeing Twitter and other social media explode. It was like witnessing people's reaction to the first Sonic movie trailer.
Meow? Oh, come on.
But just as Paramount Pictures did, Bloober Team along with Konami released the trailer on August 19, 2024. And that's when all the doubts people had began to fade away. I mean, just look at the difference in how James's face improved. Despite all of this, I set the following rule for myself, which is also something that I share with others who wanted to play it, just as I remind my friends every time they play ranked games in League of Legends. Keep your expectations low, because you never know when something might surprise you or, in the worst case scenario, disappoint you. As they say in Spider-Man No Way Home,
if you expect disappointment, then you can never really get disappointed.
So I decided to save my comments until I had finished the game. And now that I had the chance, I believe I can share my experience with the Silent Hill 2 remake. For that being said, I'll discuss the story, some comparisons with the original, my conclusions, and other aspects. Before continuing, I want to leave a message for my editing sensei. If you're watching this, forgive me for making this video long, but I couldn't hold back because I have so much to say about this remake. So grab your coffee, water, soda, or whatever drink or snack you enjoy, get comfortable, and join me in this video. Silent Hill Remake revitalizes the atmosphere and gameplay of a survival horror game, incorporating modern mechanics and details. The third-person perspective combines melee and ranged combat, similar to the Callisto Protocol. However, unlike Jacob, James does not possess the power of the Force. The available weapons stay true to the 2001 game, with a selection of melee and firearms that fans will recognize, including the unlockable chainsaw after completing the game once. That said, Pyramid Head's massive blade is not an available weapon, making a single appearance in the Labyrinth where James uses it to open the path to the cemetery. Honestly, it saddens me that we can't wield this giant weapon to take down our enemies, but for those who purchase the deluxe version and can use Pyramid Head's helmet, at least we can enjoy doing this. The inventory system also receives an interesting visual update. The menu's colors change depending on James's health, from white when fully healed, to red when in critical condition. The puzzles are another strong point, some new ones that have been added, and the originals that have been redesigned to be more complex and satisfying. Like the coin puzzle in the Woodside Apartments, which turned out to be one of my favorites in the game. Another notable detail is the ability to break windows and glass, allowing players to access areas that would otherwise be inaccessible through doors, enhancing exploration of the town of Silent Hill. Personally, I love it when a game gives players the option to investigate the map, as it lets you appreciate the environment of the places you're visiting. For those of you who joined my streams while I was playing, you saw the smile I put on my face every time I vandalized a car or a shop. Regarding the atmosphere, the fog and sense of abandonment increased the tension, especially in darker interior areas where the environment changes as the player progresses. For example, in the Lakeview Hotel, when James first arrives, the walls and paintings appear normal. However, as the player advances and revisits the hotel, the walls begin to look peeled and the paintings become torn. Throughout the game, James also finds these collectible items, the strange photos. Unlocking them only rewards a trophy, so for those of you aiming to platinum the game, be sure to search every corner. As for their meaning, a Reddit user recently revealed that if the player counts certain elements in each photo, for example the 6 open windows in the first one, and matches that number with the writing in each photo, they'll uncover a letter. These letters spell out a phrase, "You've been here for 2 decades," which refers to the 20 years that have passed between the original Silent Hill 2 and the remake. Kudos to Bloober Team for this amazing detail, and applause for the user who discovered it, earning a thumbs up from one of the devs. Speaking of details, Bloober Team also included nostalgic hidden secrets scattered throughout the game. These are references to various events from the 2001 Silent Hill 2. I admit they brought back memories from the original, especially the iconic scene where James visits the bowling alley and sees Eddie eating pizza.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
This town's full of monsters. Who could just sit here and eat pizza?
As for the game's music, Akira Yamaoka returns to deliver his iconic work. He maintains the essence of the original soundtrack with a mix of somber ambience and nostalgic melodies. Using instruments like keyboards and electric guitars, Yamaoka creates a haunting yet emotional atmosphere. Among his compositions, my top 3 are Laura's Theme, Overdose, Delusion, and Promise. I might be exaggerating when I say that Silent Hill is one of the best soundtracks in gaming history. So much so that a Winnie the Pooh game, Piglet's Big Game, referenced it for its own soundtrack. With all that said, let's dive into the story that Silent Hill 2 Remake brings into focus. Like its predecessor, Silent Hill 2 Remake begins by introducing the main character, James Sunderland, a man who arrives in Silent Hill after receiving a letter from his wife, Mary, who died 3 years from an illness. In the letter, Mary tells James she is waiting for him in their special place in Silent Hill, prompting his journey to the town in search for answers. On his way to Silent Hill, James visits a cemetery where he meets Angela Orozco, a woman searching for her mother. At first glance, Angela appears introverted and innocent, nervously fidgeting with her fingers while speaking to James, and directing him on the path to Silent Hill. After his encounter with Angela, James heads to Neely's bar and finds a jukebox that he repairs. When he plays it, the music triggers a memory with Mary at Rosewater Park, a special place in their relationship, inspiring him to head to the Woodside apartment. In there, as James tries to retrieve a set of keys, a young girl named Laura steps on his hand and kicks the keys away. Laura is an orphan who seems resentful towards James and is also searching for Mary. Later, while wandering the building, James encounters Eddie Dombrowski, a man vomiting in the bathroom. Eddie is terrified and appeals guilt-ridden, claiming he was called to the town. While the game does not fully disclose his past, the novelization provides more context. Eddie was bullied for his ways, and in a fit of rage, killed his abuser and shot the bully, leaving him paralyzed. Fleeing from the police, Eddie wandered aimlessly until ending up in Silent Hill. This scene moved me. The performance perfectly conveys Eddie's insecurity and fear, adding empathy to his character. Although the credits list 2 voice actors for Eddie, whoever voiced this scene truly captured his terror.
Hey, who's there?
It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I didn't do it, I swear.
Hey, are you okay?
I didn't do anything. He was like that when I got here.
He... Oh, you mean the man back there? In the kitchen?
I didn't do it. I swear I didn't kill him.
Yeah, it's alright. I'm not saying that you did.
Later, in apartment 201, James encounters Pyramid Head, the game's terrifying pursuer. In an intense and suspenseful scene, James shoots at a monster until it finally retreats. While this may seem minor to some people, I appreciate this scene's update because in the original, James sees two monsters engaging in a disturbing act. Yes, literally doing that. Hides in a closet and reveals his position by shooting a pyramid head as it passes. Forgive my exaggeration, but if a killer is near me and I know shooting them won't hurt them, it would be stupid to give away my location. But I digress. After this encounter, James crosses to the other side of the Woodside Apartments and enters the Blue Creek Apartments' demonic version, also known as the Otherworld. For those unfamiliar, the Otherworld appears in other games in the franchise but is interpreted differently in each. In Silent Hill 2, it reflects James's guilt and need for atonement. The environment shifts from a normal world to a dark, corrupted one filled with monsters that personify his fears and its acts. Every monster in detail in the Otherworld holds symbolic significance tied to James' repressed desires and inner conflicts. In the Otherworld, James meets Angela again, who, like in the original, is lying down with a knife in hand. The scene closely mirrors the original Silent Hill 2, with Angela and James discussing the search for their loved ones, and Angela contemplating suicide. She gives James her knife, fearing what she might do with it. However, a notable difference I noticed in Angela's reaction is that, in the original, she appears scared when James reaches for the knife, as if he might try to hurt her. While in the remake, Angela's expression shifts from fear to sheer panic, as if relieving a traumatic moment from her past, which is later explained.
No! I'm sorry! I've been bad! Please don't!
After taking the knife, James continues exploring the Otherworld and faces Pyramid Head as the game's first boss fight. Bluer Team has slightly buffed each boss in the remake or completely changed their mechanics. In Pyramid Head's case, only his movement speed has been increased. But unlike the original, where you can only need to dodge his attacks until the siren sounded, this time you must fight him head on until the siren signals his retreat. However, be cautious because if you approach Pyramid Head while he's leaving and your health is low, he can kill you, forcing you to restart the fight. Following his battle with Pyramid Head, James heads to Rosewater Park where he encounters Maria. Maria is a manifestation of James's idealized and sensual version of his wife, Mary. At first, this may not seem obvious, but as the player gets to know her and sees her flirt with James, the doubt fades. And this gets more evident when they leave the park and go to Heaven's Night Bar, leading to a scene that likely left many viewers with their minds dirty.
What? Come on, don't give me that look. I was just kidding.
Okay, time to confess something. I'm neither experienced nor am enthusiastic about bars or drinking alcohol, but if I had the chance to be a bad guy for once, I might consider throwing some bills. This scene, along with the remakes of Heaven's Night, reinforces Maria's seductive attitude. And at the same time, I relate to James because in real life, if someone invited me for a drink, even if it is a woman, I'd likely decline, just as James does. An erotic dance, however, unless it's my partner, maybe I wouldn't decline. Anyways, leaving behind fantasies and drinks, James and Maria visit Moonlight Grove, a location absent from the original Silent Hill 2. In there, Maria tells James a legend about a woman who was exiled and sentenced to die while a man who fell in love with her sneaked out at night to bring her food and companionship. The story may not seem relevant at first, especially to James who dismisses it as a waste of time. However, its deeper meaning becomes clear thanks to a Reddit user's intriguing explanation, which I'll break down. The legend tells of a woman who, every night, waits by the shore holding a lit candle to guide her lost love throughout the darkness. One fateful night, a storm rages, extinguishing the candle and trapping the man in the turbulent waters. Despite this, he continues rowing until the lake claims him. The woman, undeterred, lights the candle nightly, hoping for his return. However, later in the museum, a different version of this story is told. In this version, the night was clear and the man, distracted by the moon's glow, follows it into the vastness of the lake where he ultimately perishes. This legend may symbolize James's internal conflict. In his idealized devotion, he chooses to follow the moon, as in Maria, instead of staying with Mary, his sick wife, who represents the candlelight. By choosing an ideal over reality, James is punished. Maria's retelling of the story serves as a warning to steer James away from Mary and towards herself, becoming his moonlight. It's a deeply symbolic tale laden with themes of love, obsession, and the choices that lead us away from reality and enter uncertainty. But enough deviation from the original plot, let's return to it. After leaving the grove, James and Maria head to the theater, where Maria stays outside because she dislikes movies. Inside, James finds Laura and Eddie in a theater room. Laura runs off when James makes a noise, and he chases her, while Eddie, unbothered, continues devouring a massive bucket of strawberry ice cream. Oh dear. After leaving the theater, Maria mentions seeing Laura head to Brookhaven Hotel. Feeling unwell, Maria decides to rest while James continues his search. While exploring the hospital, James encounters Pyramid Head again, who throws him from the rooftop. He eventually catches up to Laura, who tricks him into being locked in a room with the next boss, Flesh Whips. This grotesque creature consists of a large mass of flesh and skin surrounded by a metal frame, with multiple limbs and a pair of lips on the lower part. The frame represents a bed, while the mask symbolizes James and Mary's mixed emotions during her illness. And according to Masahiro Ito, the lips symbolizes Mary's cruelty towards James during their final days. Bloober Team redesigned this battle into a multi-phase challenging fight, with the boss hanging from the ceiling and transforms into a spider in its final phase, using its metal frame as a weapon. This redesign is more dynamic and tense, impressing me with its creativity. Upon defeating Flesh Whips, James is transported to the other world, where he reunites with Maria. Together, they attempt to escape, but Pyramid Head catches up and kills Maria, leaving James alone and disoriented. After leaving the hospital, James follows Laura to Rosewater Park, where he finds Angela near a statue. In this new remake scene, Angela initially appears confused but becomes increasingly uncomfortable as James approaches, as if his presence reminds her of a traumatic event of her past.
Angela? Are you alright? Angela?
No. Please. You shouldn't be here.
Angela, it's okay.
No, don't touch me!
From here, James heads to the Silent Hill Museum leading to the depths of Toluca prison, where he once again encounters Eddie, who had just killed someone for how they looked at him.
Just put the gun to their head and pow.
This version of the prison is far more intricate than in the original game. James solves puzzles involving skills to open doors, culminating in the gallows puzzle that ultimately takes him to the Labyrinth. In the Labyrinth, James encounters Angela with the next boss of the game, the Abstract Daddy. This fight, in my opinion, is one of the most impactful both for its symbolism and the raw ways it portrays Angela's pain. Let me explain. The battle setting evokes the Orozco family home, with Angela's father's voice heard on nearby TVs as she tries to escape, hiding in corners resembling closets.
Aren't you sick? Care of you all these years. What I did? Look at me!
Inside these closets is a teddy bear from Angela's childhood, symbolizing her attempt to seek refuge from her father. The monster itself represents the father-daughter relationship, with two heads, one symbolizing Angela, and the other, the dominant one, representing her father, who sexually abused her. The first time I saw this scene, I couldn't help but feel deep sorrow for Angela, especially after James defeats the monster. This moment gives way to a powerful performance by Gianna Keel, where Angela pours out her anguish and vulnerability to James.
Okay, Angela. It's okay. Calm down.
Don't order me around!
I'm not. It's okay. It's over.
Don't even try.
Try what?
Like you don't know. I see what you're doing. It's always the same with you. You're only after one thing.
Angela, please.
You don't have to lie. Go ahead. Say it. Or you could just force me. Like he always did. You disgusting pig. I hate you. I hate you.
To make matters worse, before the fight against the Abstract Daddy, there's an article about Angela's father, Thomas Orozco, who after causing her severe emotional trauma was killed by Angela. It was this fact that led Angela to Silent Hill. In the Labyrinth, James also reunites with Maria, who, to his surprise, not only does not remember the events at the hospital where Pyramid had killed her, but also has Mary's memories of when she and James were in Silent Hill. Later, James returns to where Maria was, only to find her dead again. He takes a moment to mourn before leaving. Passing through a cemetery, James encounters Eddie again, who, in his paranoia, convinces himself that James has always mocked him. Eddie threatens James with a gun, but James counters with a punch to the face, initiating the next boss fight against Eddie. In this version, the fight with Eddie is divided into 3 phases. Eddie uses the fog to his advantage to ambush James with gunshots and punches, while James must take cover behind meat sacks, dodge attacks, and counter at the right moment. Despite the brutal confrontation, the guilt is evident on James's face after Eddie's death, a detail that emotionally connects with the scene to the original.
Eddie? Eddie? I killed a human being.
a human being.
After leaving the labyrinth, James rows a boat to his final destination, the Lakeside Hotel. There he meets Laura, who, in a bonding scene, gives him a letter Mary wrote before her death. In it, Mary expresses her affection for Laura, reveals her wish to adopt her, and asks Laura to be kind to James. This moment highlights the special connection between Mary and Laura, so special that Laura travels to Silent Hill to find her. Unlike others, Laura does not see the monsters due to their innocence, explaining James's concern in the hospital scene where he fears the monsters might harm her.
Let go!
I'm sorry, Laura, but I can't let you just run around this place. You might get hurt.
Hurt by what?
An intriguing detail is that Laura mentions she turned 8 just a week prior, making James question the idea that Mary has been dead for 3 years, renewing his hope for finding her at the hotel. This leads him to follow clues and face a new boss on the 3rd floor, the Mandarin. This monster hanging from the grates represents James's fragile physique and the feeling of feeling in the blink of falling into darkness. Although this fight was not in the original game, it adds a symbolic layer. If James loses his sanity, he could fall into the same abyss as this monster. Without requiring a complex strategy, James simply has to shoot the monster until it is defeated to proceed. From this point on, Silent Hill 2's story branches out, offering multiple endings depending on the player's decisions, as there is no official canon ending. These alternative scenarios or what-if endings add variety and depth to the game, each with unique requirements. The UFO ending is a surreal and humorous conclusion devised by Takayoshi Sato. To unlock it, the player must inspect a blue gem, triggering the appearance of a spaceship at the hotel. Inside, James meets a past version of himself, who reveals that the current James is actually a clone. The encounter ends absurdly with the alien shooting at the remake James, a bizarre yet amusing conclusion that has been a tradition in the series. The Bliss ending is a completely new addition in the remake. In this ending, James inserts a VHS tape showing a memory of his vacation with Mary at the hotel. Mary's voice is distorted on the recording, while James's remain clear. At the end of the video, James disappears, implying he chooses to remain in an illusion where he relieves his happy moments with Mary, denying her death and the painful reality. If the player decides to continue, the story reveals an even darker truth. In the same VHS scene, James watches memories of his vacation with Mary, but it ends up with him smothering her with a pillow. This ending confronts James with his guilt. He killed his wife. According to the novelization, Mary, emotionally affected by her illness, often lashed out at James, who began visiting her less frequently until his final visit. When consumed by his resentment and pain, he kissed her goodbye and suffocated her. To make matters more emotional, this scene becomes even more powerful when Laura confronts James about Mary. When James tells her the truth, Evie Templeton's outstanding performance shines as Laura reacts to Mary's death.
Killer? Why'd you do it? I hate you! I want her back. Give her back to me. I knew it. You didn't care about her. I hate you, James! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you!
If there's one scene worth applauding this young actress for, it's this one. When Laura yells, "I hate you," and punches James, I could feel her anger and sadness. Her best friend is gone, and with it, the dream of being adopted into the family.
Mary, you know, isn't here.
Later, James hears Mary's voice over the radio, guiding him through the hotel in this attempt to find her. Here, another classic humorous ending can be unlocked, the dog ending, where it is revealed that all the events in Silent Hill were orchestrated by a Shiba Inu. In this version, James does not speak Japanese but Polish in honor of the Remake's developers, keeping the original tradition. The only difference is that the doc's ending credits no longer features images of James and Maria showing skin, so for anyone hoping to fantasize during the credits, I'm sorry. But setting that aside, if the player progresses with the story, James has one final encounter with Angela. The characters meet on a staircase surrounded by flames, where Angela asks James to return the knife. He refuses, leaving Angela to believe James wants to save the knife for himself, before she ascends the stairs, implying she ends her suffering by taking her life. Continuing his search for Mary, James finds Maria alive once more, accompanied by not one but two pyramid heads. Both pyramid heads kill Maria in front of James again, but this time, James finally understands Pyramid Head's purpose and why he no longer needs him. Instead of fleeing, he confronts them. For those unfamiliar with Silent Hill 2's story, you might wonder, why are there two Pyramid Heads, and how is Maria alive after dying twice? The first Pyramid Head represents James' unfulfilled desire to be punished for Mary's death. Pyramid Head kills Maria repeatedly to remind James that he killed Mary, and as long as James denies the truth, Pyramid Head will repeat the act, with Maria serving as a distraction to keep James from Mary. The second Pyramid Head, some fans speculate that it manifests from James's guilt over Eddie's death, explaining James's expression after their fight. When James finally accepts his sins, after Maria's third death, he fights both executioners. In the end, they impale themselves with their own spears, fulfilling their purpose. After this confrontation, James is led down a hallway where a conversation with Mary from her living days is heard. In it, James offers Mary flowers, which she rejects, angrily proclaiming that she's too repulsive and ugly to receive them. Then, Mary's mood shifts and she apologizes, begging James to stay with her and assuring that she won't die.
Why are you still here? I told you to go. Are you deaf? Don't come back. James. Wait. Please. Don't go. Don't leave me alone. I didn't mean what I said. Please. Tell me I'll be okay. Tell me I'm not gonna die.
Salome's performance is noteworthy for reflecting Mary's sorrow and anguish in her final conversation with her husband. I hope I pronounced her name right because I spent like 10 minutes trying to do it, and I still don't know if I did it right. Finally, James finds Maria disguised as Mary. When he rejects her, she transforms into the final boss. The fight unfolds in 3 phases, with Maria attacking from the ceiling alongside Larvas. She then adopts a spider-like form, moving to a dark arena resembling the Flesh Whips fight, and finally returns to the surface to the final stage where James ultimately defeats her. The player's actions determine one of 6 possible endings. In the Leave ending, after defeating Maria, James reunites with Mary's spirit, who forgives him and gives him a letter encouraging him to move on. It is speculated that he adopts Lara, fulfilling Mary's wish. In the Water ending, unable to forgive himself for Mary's death, James ends his life by drowning in Toluca Lake. Many consider this the canonical ending, and it is used in the novelization. In the Stillness ending, similar to the Water ending, but Mary appears to console James in the car, suggesting he chooses to move on with his life. A bittersweet ending, but enjoyable. In the Maria ending, James leaves Silent Hill with Maria, but she starts cussing, implying the cycle of illness and loss he experienced with Mary's will repeat. And finally, the Rebirth ending, where James rose to an island with Mary's body, intending to perform a ritual to resurrect her. These endings reflect the range of emotions James experiences, between anger, denial, numbness, depression, acceptance, and negotiation. Despite the challenges and criticisms Bloober Team faced, they achieved a massive victory with Silent Hill 2 Remake. They managed to release a game that stays very true to its predecessor without losing its essence, while also improving much of its gameplay. You can really feel the love and dedication the team poured into this project, and it wasn't until after its release that the game received mostly positive reactions from fans. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. It seems like I'm kissing Bloober's boots, but if there's one thing I've learned over the years is this. Any company willing to listen to its audience to improve a product and release it in its best form deserves a chance. And I believe this is a lesson for all gaming developers. Looking at you, Riot Games. If you listen to your community's feedback, it can take you far. That being said, there are some things about the game I didn't like as I played. To start, the game suffers from performance issues in certain cutscenes and parts of the gameplay. Despite the patch Bloober Team released on October 25th of this year, the problem persists, and I wish I could say it's just an issue on my end, but for what I'm seeing, other friends and content creators I follow have experienced the same thing. I could also mention bugs like the one in the hospital window, but fortunately, Bloober Team has already taken care of that. The voice acting overall was very good, especially Luke Roberts, who, in my opinion, was the standout in his portrayal of James, particularly in the scene before the fight with the two pyramid heads.
I know what you are. I know why I needed you. But it's all over now. I don't need you anymore.
However, there were a few moments where the dialogue lacked the energy I expected. For example, in the Leave ending, when Mary tells James that he made her happy.
James, you made me happy.
That said, I can't blame Salome for it, as I've heard her performances as both Maria and Mary, which makes me think it was a minor issue in direction. I was also surprised by the absence of the Born from a Witch campaign, which tells the story of how Maria helps Ernest Baldwin. Maybe Bloober Team plans to release it as a DLC in the future? Well, only time will tell. Despite all of this, there's no doubt that the 2-year wait was worth it to bring us this game, which, in my opinion, I might even consider it as a Resident Evil Remastered 2.0. This makes me happy because it gives me hope for the future of the franchise, especially since Bloober Team seems to be planning more Silent Hill remakes. I just hope they tackle Silent Hill 1 next to, respect the order. But what do you think of Silent Hill 2 Remake? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Before wrapping up, I want to thank you all for your patience with the content uploads. To be honest, it's not easy for me to sit in a chair and figure out what to write for a script, especially when I feel like I have nothing to say or can't express what I want, or worst of all, when I lack the motivation to write because I'm either busy with some things or life problems. But don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. And if you want more Resident Evil content or Silent Hill, or maybe I'll expand more horror in the future, just let me know. If you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe, and with that said, this is True Warrior signing off with a... Did you all play it?